Show you what we're drinking tonight. I've got a couple of special guests with me. I've got Craig Bissell. He is our new sales rep for Florida, and in his hand there, I believe he poured it already. What is that? That's a Mollydooker.
Mollydooker the Boxer, 2008 vintage Shiraz, I believe from the McLaren Vale region. Beautiful. Big bold color, lots of extraction. Screaming Australia in the glass. Yummy. Good pick.
Glad you liked it.
Good selection. Quite lovely.
So, right here to my left is my friend Glenn Gallagher. He is from Australia, just visiting us in the States here for a couple of years on a special assignment. Can't really talk about why. He's probably a spy. He's in the Australian Navy and is hooked up with our Navy. We just got back from a 2,100-mile motorcycle trip together. We drove up to Oregon and back from Southern California. And anyways, Glenn was nice enough to go out tonight, pick up a few bottles of local juice, more or less, for us from his hometown. And this is what we've got. The Mollydooker is a 2008 Shiraz, the Boxer that Craig mentioned before. Did you give a rundown of your taste on it?
A little bit. Yep,
a little bit.
Little bit.
Glenn, you wanna make any comments on this?
It's from McLaren Vale region, south of Adelaide. Which the best thing about that, it's only 45 minutes drive from central Adelaide. So anyone that's going to Adelaide, south coast Australia, 45 minutes, you're in McLaren Vale wine country. Predominantly, there's some other big names that come from there. Mollydooker is Australian slang for someone who's left-handed. To be honest, it's always been around since I was a kid, the Mollydooker, like left-hand thing. I can't actually tell you the origins. It's just one of those things. If you're a Mollydooker, you're left-handed, or southpaw, as you guys call it. But my suspicions are that Sparky and I think Sarah, the big marquee, the people that run it, I think one of them or both of them are left-handed. And in Australia, left-handed people are normally treated as outcasts. All right. Anyway, Mollydooker. One thing about it, it's a 16% alcohol. So you when you taste it, that's what I did like about it when I've had it previously. Is that as you taste it, it has a nice finish, and it's not that dry burn that you might get from some other wines that have quite a high percentage. So caution if driving.
You know, it's interesting that you mentioned again the alcohol content on it. You had said that earlier, and I forgot about it. Actually, opened it up and tried it, and you know, you see what it's doing to the glass here. I don't know if the camera's picking that up or not, but you know, it's really, I should have left this empty for a second there because it's really, there's just a purple hue to the whole thing. I assume this is going to turn my teeth absolutely black, which is great, but it just feels so buttery running through your mouth there. It's not a butter flavor, but it feels like butter just coating your teeth and tongue and everything. It's absolutely a fantastic wine. I'm really excited to get into this bottle here.
Almost like a big Merlot, which tends to be a little silky, velvety, if you will. But, Glenn, to your point, high alcohol, but you don't pick up on that hot flash in the finish, which you often see in, particularly Zinfandels that have alcohol rates at about the same level. So quite lovely, good selection.
Yeah, this is nice.
Left-handed, right-handed, doesn't matter.
It's not burn on the finish, but yeah, it's definitely, the taste has changed subtly as we've been sitting here talking. Oxidization.
No doubt the wine has opened up considerably. I'm just getting much bigger fruit on the nose than I was the first time I stuck my nose in the glass. Much more red fruit, a little bit of black fruit, but predominantly red fruit. Get a little taste here.
And Glenn, you're still working on that nut brown ale there. Is that complementing this nicely? Would you say?
It's keeping my palate cleansed.
Is that what it is? Yeah. All right. Cleansing the palate.
Now,
Excellent.
I got a little drier sensation this time around. Again, I think the wine is starting to evolve and starting to open up. It's not as smooth and velvety as it was before. A little brighter acid tended to show through. So, I think opening up this wine and letting it breathe a bit has helped it from my perspective, my palate anyway. So.
I would also say it's an 08, so Australian standards, it's young. I would give it, if you put it down for 7 years in a cellar, then it will just nicely flatten out. And I'm sure if they put a recommended cellar in here.
Do they do that on Australian wines? Recommend cellaring on the back of it?
They recommend cellaring. And if you buy a wine companion book, so a wine guide or a companion book that will go along with the regions of that you've been buying the wines, it'll say recommended cellaring, to 2015, 2020.
Well, sure, on a book, but I don't think I've ever seen that on a bottle before.
If it's a flagship wine, it might just have a date, and you go, why does that have 2022 on it? And that's what it's mean. It's like, you know, round about the year to drink it. So
It really depends upon the producer, and it depends upon the effort that they put into the back label as well, which is generally where you're going to find that. And I think that's a good strategy. You know, the other thing I was going to comment on is for all the negative criticism that the Australian, I applaud the fact that they have been among the leaders in terms of adopting screw cap. I mean, literally across, you know, all varietals, most brands. I wish the entire industry would do the screw cap, quite frankly.
Well, I'm glad you brought it up. The Stillwell cap is, for your enthusiasts and pundits, has been something like a death knell, because they went, hey, here goes cork, and here goes that romanticism attached to wine. The thing is, what really drove it in Australia was when Portugal and Spain had like cork problems, and we imported obviously a lot of it from there. It kind of killed. You had Grange Hermitage and Henschke Grace wines that were actually going sour, and people were like running out of steam and tired of spending that much money on a bottle. And anyway, you probably never see those wines evolve to a Stillwell, like, because they're, you know, the premium Australian brands, and that's what people are paying money for. However, what it did do was drove people to get better producers for cork, that drove your mid-range to good range levels of wine to a Stillwell cap. And I tell you what, I've never had a corked wine since.
So I gotta. Excuse me, go ahead.
No, you know, I was just saying, Glenn, for a Navy boy, you know your shit when it comes to wine. So I guess I have to ask you, how much time will you spend and focus on work versus not work?
You're right. Cheers to that. Yeah. I have a very tolerant life.
Right on. So I want to say cheers to you both, and I'm really glad you're both here, and I think this is, I'm having a really fun time tonight. But, you know, when it comes to the screw cap versus cork debate, I have to disagree with the screw cap. For wines that are going to be aged and cellared and going to develop over time, I feel that it really impedes that. For wines which, you know, look, we live in America, I want everything right now, society, I don't want to wait for anything. I think the screw cap is great for wines that are as big as they're going to get and as great as they're going to get right out of the start. When it comes to something you want to lay down and let it age and mature over time, I feel that the screw cap really prevents that from happening. I think the transfer of air, however slight over time through the cork, I really feel that that's important, and just allowing it to breathe however slightly through the
Interesting enough, that they've done some studies over the last 10 years, and they have found that there are very minute differences in the wines that have aged, same wine, same vintage, that was finished in screw cap versus finished in cork. Very, very minute differences.
Well, if you read, you know, the Brownback Diaries, I believe is what it's called, it basically debunked everything and said nobody knows anything when it comes to wine. It's all a bunch of, you know, malarkey, hocus pocus anyways. So I guess, you know, being a romantic myself, I like the cork, maybe just because it's a traditional thing as well. So I guess I'll come clean and fess up to that.
You know, I agree, but that's why I said, like, some flagship wines for a winery that have a cork, and definitely there is that romanticism like attached to it, and the cork, and so there'll be certain wines that, and believe me, with friends in the wine industry, they pondered it for so long, so they kind of split down the middle and went, well, some of the table drinking wines will go Stillwell, the others will stick with cork. Why? Because consumers pay for what they want, and predominantly most consumers like cork for exactly all the reasons you described.
I'll tell you, on the industry side, on the hospitality side, servers, bar managers, etc., all appreciate the screw cap finish. You know, it's much easier to preserve a bottle of wine once it's been opened with screw cap. Servers don't have to fuss tableside, pulling out a corkscrew and going through that whole drill, maybe getting a dry cork, and you know, all the embarrassment associated with that. Peeling the foil off so that it's, you know, nice, you know, round at the top. You know, for the years that I've been in the industry, I have found more and more people on the hospitality side industry anyway that are favoring.
Just checking me, they're almost ready to come off, so I've got to do this quick. I could care less if the server thinks that it's easier to pour something out of a screw cap wine. I would agree, and having waited tables for, you know, many years of my life, yes, absolutely, that would have made things easier. But sometimes you're out with people and it's a celebration, and you know, you want the process of everything. And you know, again, I almost always ask people to decant wines when I'm out. And I'm sure they don't like that either, but you know, I feel it does a lot for the wine, and tough. It's part of the job, and you know.
There is another reason it actually gained popularity in Australia.
Okay, I want to hear this.
Okay, so well, I'll wait for Matt to come back. But it's interesting. You might find it interesting. But it's partially it's not a yarn. It's partially true. If you don't know much about Australia, we're pretty much descended from convicts and thieves, penal colony, and where in sort of like Australia, BYO wine is very big. The thing is, when you hand it to the waiter, then all of a sudden that's your $15 corkage there and there. If you've actually brought quite a few wines that are still well capped, they're under the table, they're corked, they're cracked, and bang. All of a sudden they're up here. So to the unattentive wait staff, which is quite often Australia, and I'll say that we don't have bad service, we just don't have the level of service you have here. So all of a sudden it's a never-ending bottle that you've only paid one corkage for. Okay, all right.
That is the best advice I've ever heard, I think, in my life. I'm going to load up on screw cap bottles when I come visit you in Australia, my man. So what we've got here is apologize for the cutting board. It was the first thing I could grab there. This one kind of sucks, but got some nice racks of lamb.
So
we're
we're
cut just about to tear into this lamb. As you can see, I could not wait to cut into it. I should have let it sit for about 10 or 15 minutes, but I'm impatient. So here we are, sitting down. We want to open up this bottle of layer cake again that my good friend Glenn brought. You want to tell us a little bit about this here, Glenn?
Okay, layer cake actually make quite a few vintages. Some from Argentina, some from Chile. Also, they have the South Australian vineyard that they also do a very nice Shiraz. I kind of like this one. It's a 08 vintage of a Malbec. Actually, it's 14.9% alcohol, and you're looking at it's an 08. But basically, the winemaker here is just talking about how they went to Argentina, had such a great time, and that they appreciate the Malbec there. I've yet to try this one, so I was very keen to try it based on the pedigree of the previous layer cake Shiraz from South Australia. So we're going to hand this over to Craig, who's going to do the first sample.
What I would add is that this producer is extremely smart in that what they have done is produced one label, the layer cake label, but have made wines from several different regions, all of which are the wine from that region. As Glenn said, this is a Malbec from Argentina. They make a lovely Shiraz from the Barossa area.
Yes.
They also make a lovely Cabernet Sauvignon from the Alexander Valley in California. So very smartly done. And this wine is incredibly popular. I don't know if it's the label or the wine itself, but there are times where this wine is not in stock in places that keep it. So looking forward to it. Does everybody have some? Mm-hmm.
Well, three of us do here, so we're still finishing up the other, but
Classic Argentinian Malbec.
it smells fantastic.
Nice extraction. Not quite as much as the Shiraz that we had, but certainly lots of contact with the skins. Dark black, blue fruit. And Matt's trying to make it work because the damn thing was finished in screw cap. So.
Well, screw cap is what it is. Wow, really juicy on the finish. That's the only way I can describe it. You're right. It's got a deep color to it, as does the Mollydooker there, but it's just not quite as bright on the edges. I feel like I'm just getting a slight. It's deep berry, but with a smoke undertone to it. That's what I feel like. Glenn, have you tried this?
No,
Why don't you
but
take a shot of that there, if you don't mind? I'm pretty sure I'm clean.
That's reassuring, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a pretty big bouquet.
Oh, last check.
Oh yeah, that's very nice. Very, very smooth. For again, that's nearly 15%. Thank you very much, Matt. Nearly 15%. Almost 16. Yeah, at the end there was a little bit of, burn. I would call it this one. Spectacular.
Spot on.
Spot on for a
Is that what
Malbec.
you would say?
Spot on for a Malbec.
Spot on for a Malbec. All right, excellent. Well, thanks, Chris.